In 1930, Daddy drove to California without benefit of the Negro Traveler's Green Book. When he wanted to sleep, it would have helped if he'd known Mrs. Mosby's tourist home, 1614 Jackson, Springfield, welcomed weary Negroes. My father was a closet poet and read a lot of poetry from a very early age. I was reading anything I could get my hands on.
Poetry was taught to me in a very simple way, which is it's a series of uneven lines. So that demystified it for me from the start.
Calypso and steel drums, a little Rasta and Bob Marley for us young'uns, till finally we are no longer black ironwood, wood that will not float. There is a very vibrant, diverse poetry scene in Los Angeles.
Depending where the writer comes from, they usually build a narrative of where they are from. You get a giant variety of themes in LA poetry.
I am a poet. I was born in Iran and I was there until we were 8. I learned languages by reading a lot. Started going to the open mics in Oakland. I had been writing since, reading since.
Hi. Yeah, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I've seen you.
This is the final library of the 3 libraries we've had this series in. Performance, and then a writing workshop, which will be on Thursday, same time, and then a performance workshop, which will be on Saturday afternoon. English is my 3rd language. Poetry allowed me to figure out how to say all the things I needed to say with the few words I had.
In high school, I always read poetry that never related to me. Poor people don't give what advertisement tells them love is, in the form of material things like diamonds, like rings, new cars, and new jeans.
Breathing deeply, her breath was fume of coconut and allspice, mango and frangipani, blackbird and blue sky.
With any war, there will be blood. Remember the rules of engagement. Casualties are part of the process. Take no prisoners except your other half. Poetry gets to the heart of it all the time because of how succinct you need to be. That intensity of it, the intention of the words of it, the feelings of it.
It's elevated when the people make it as important to the person reading it or hearing it as anything else in their life.
I remember really falling in love with writing a story after reading a story. And when you're thinking back to this moment, where right now is your breath? And just take note of that. I feel like I've come to a place as a facilitator, there's a sense of urgency. When I see a young person walk into a room, they're coming with a bit of bravery and trust. They don't know who we are, and they're just showing up empty-handed and being given a piece of paper and a pen to write it out. I'm going to give you 2 choices. One is you're going to write a poem that starts with the line, "On the map of my body."
It's critical to enlarge their worldview. To have an understanding of those places is to delve into their language, and poetry is one of the best ways to do that.
These workshops are important to our youth in these communities to see poets of color, poets that look like them.
When I discovered folks that looked like me, that sounded like me, that tasted like me, it's like, okay.
I always ask folks, like who in the room is a writer? Who is a poet, a screenwriter, short stories, essays? So I just keep going like, okay, well, who writes emails? Who writes applications? Who writes text messages? And everyone's hands go up. Whether we call ourselves a writer or not, we just have all this experience and knowledge and fantasy, in our minds.
I let my emotional guard down for both. I have to. For me to be a successful artist or for me to be a successful partner to my partner, then I have to let that guard down and let them in.
Ooh, I think they like me. Wearing cold blood shed diamonds from Sierra Leone. While you think about it, they call it icy. I know the truth is more painful than when they sticking the needle in, and I'm not a heroine and I'm anti-heroin. I'm just trying to do my best. Like Weezy and George, you make sure you get your piece of the pie. Y'all been great. Enjoy y'all lives.
As a poet, I would like to call myself a street poet. A lot of people that say I sound like a rapper, but I'm gonna stop you fast. I'm not gonna let you call me a rapper. I'm gonna tell you I'm a spoken word artist.
From all of these voices, I think is really necessary because that's not what we're reading as we grew up in school. No one's gonna write our story for us, right?
And this is the most important piece because it's dedicated to my mom. I lost my mom to cancer at 17 years old. February 13th, 2006. That was the day I found out my mom was sick. All we did was leave to go get something to eat. And when we came back, the doctor was on the answer machine. Not one time, not two times, it was three. I urged her to return his call with urgency. And she sat on the edge of the bed with a certain look on her face. And she was stuck like a musicless dancer. Man, y'all, I just found out my mom has cancer. Hospital, ICU, 25 days. The worst 25 nights of my life, knowing that my mom could die in the middle of the night. But deep inside, I knew that she was a fighter and everything was gonna be all right. Her hair was growing back and her smile was getting bigger. It was like we was digging hope up out of holes, and we finally was done digging until January 22nd, 2009, when the cancer came back and it took her life. And at the same time, it took the foundation out of mine. I was just a senior at Crenshaw High School, lost like a kid in the mall. My mama's gone now, so who's supposed to tell me what to do? My mama taught me how to conquer life's greatest obstacle. She taught me everything except for how to live without her. And if I had one wish, RIP would stand for return if possible. Thank you, guys.